How's it going today? Today we're going to talk about when will this end? When will this selling end? I got some predictions and everything. I'm going to talk about where can it end through a technical side, where can it end with maybe emotional side, economic side, and historically where does it end? Then I'm going to say what can we do? What is our game plan? That's always the thing. You always have to have a game plan in times like these, or really anything. Or you have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy for these things. You can't just go in there half hazily and expect to do well. Every single person in anything, they have a game plan. You have to have a game plan when times get rough. You got to stick to the plan. You got to stick to it. But anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. What's your game plan? What's your strategy? Now, anyway, we're gonna get into how far can this really go down, or what is realistically. I got some indications. Even the Warren Buffett index. It's basically what you do is you take the index or the total market cap of every single company, and that's around 24 billion. So essentially, it's 24 billion, and you divide by GDP is around 21 billion. So essentially, Buffett always says when it's cheap, and this worked about every single time. If you would have listened to this in 2008, you would have bought down. It actually went a little bit lower, but it worked then. It could probably work now. So really, realistically, I mean, that's only a 10% drop from where we're at now. A 10% drop, maybe a 12%, 15% drop from where we're at now to get into buying opportunities, to actually get fully into buying opportunities, which I think we will get there. It's only a matter of time. I don't think we're going to hit the bottom now. I don't think we're going to hit a bottom now, or in the next week or in April. I don't see that. I see if we do, we might have a rally for a couple weeks and then go sell off. I mean, you always have to watch out for them bear market rallies where everybody's just thinking, oh, this is over, it's happy dory, then something else happens, some information comes out and it creams the market. That's what happened in 2008. And actually, you can study it all the way back in 1974 was actually the worst bear market that cost a lot of people hard times, because to get to the bottom of the crash, I mean, it started in 73 because of the oil crisis, and it didn't end all the way until about 1974. So I mean, that thing, it went down a lot, but there was months, they were free for months at a time where the market would go up 10 or 15%. So people would think, well, the bottom, it was 3 months ago. Then it would go another leg down. Then it would rally up again, and then go another leg down. And that went on for years, almost a year and a half, until you hit the bottom. I mean, that was a horrible time to be in the market and buying, trying to time the market. So what we can take away from that is, I mean, God only knows when it's going to end, but realistically, back to the Buffett index, I mean, basically that put the Dow Jones around 1700 or 17,823. So, I mean, that's a 10% drop or a 12% drop, depending on your numbers and depending on the day. If we have an sell off, I mean, my numbers could be slightly off, but that is around that level. So, I mean, that is a pretty kind of big drop. I mean, that almost puts the S&P at almost 2,200 something, 2,100 something, around there. I mean, the stock market could go down a little bit more according to Buffett's indicator. I'm not saying this 100% and this will happen. I mean, and let's face it, what will cause this to end? I believe the only way that this sell-off will end is if we get some kind of good numbers from the coronavirus. That's what causes this. I mean, there's always a cause of why it happens. I mean, this market sell-off and these economic hardships that we probably will go through over the next couple months is caused by the coronavirus shutting down everything. That's what's causing it. I mean, it's always a cause. Once you fix that problem, everything else will eventually take care of itself. And you're trying to time that. I believe this is almost to the point where I'm not saying it's worse than 2008. 2008 had its problems, but I believe it's almost to the point where it's not a financial problem, it's a health problem, but it might bleed into the financials. So, I mean, if a lot of people lose their jobs, I mean, it could really halt the whole economy and really have some problems. I mean, how if we have a hike 2008 on a recession on top of that, and I mean, a financial crisis, I mean, this could get pretty bad pretty quick. So, I mean, is it worse than 2008? That's really the question. I financially, not yet. Financially, not yet, but I think as a fear index and how much fear people have and how much fear the consumer, for the average person, I think it's worse, actually. I think coronavirus, this corona sell-off is actually worse than 2008 for the average person. For stock traders and stock investors and the rich, maybe not. Maybe not. They might lose some money, but they go gain it back. I mean, they have a lot. Some of these companies have great cash, and some of these companies actually do well. I mean, really in 2008, nothing really did well. The economy was tanking, and really nothing did well. I mean, while some of these companies would actually probably do well, such as the Teladoc Health companies and Zoom Video and stuff like that. I mean, their stocks are doing pretty good. Maybe the video game stocks do well. Amazon's doing well. I mean, a lot of these cloud stocks, technology stocks, they're helping people connect with people. I think they will do well, actually. I don't see a big leg down. I think Facebook will do well. Google will do well over this time. So essentially, some of them will get hammered and will cause a lot of layoffs. So it's kind of different than 2008. 2008, everything sucked. And, so in some ways it's worse. I think for the average person, it is worse than 2008 because a lot of time, 2008 really didn't affect the average person in a sense that it created a lot of fear. People were worried about losing their houses. People were really worried about losing their job. But if they worked in some place where they probably wouldn't lose their job, it didn't really affect them at all. I mean, a lot of, think about the recession-proof stocks. I mean, them companies, they didn't really have a whole lot of layoffs. They might let some people go, but people worried about losing the house. Now people are worried about losing their job and getting sick and having a lot of medical bills and dying. So really, you have that on both of it. So really, I mean, this is almost for the average person worse, I believe. I mean, there's more, and actually, you could look at the VIX is kind of the fear gauge. Basically, it shorts the S&P index, and really, you can see it. Actually, it's higher than 2008. There's more fear in the market right now than 2008. So, I mean, that tells you something. There's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of thing. And you could say, well, Warren Buffett would say, be greedy when people are fearful and fearful when people are greedy. And I think this is a perfect time to really start getting greedy. So, I mean, we're going to move on to the next segment. I mean, what can we do about this? What is the game plan? How are we going to get out of this? I believe, and I always say this right off the get-go, that I always recommend don't put any money that you cannot afford to lose in 3 years. So essentially, if let's say you have $10,000, you feel like you're going to lose your job and your expenses, or let's say $1,000, you think you're going to lose your job for 8 months. Let's say that's $8,000. So essentially, I would not put that $8,000 to work in the market. Let's say you're trying to save up a house for next year. You're moving, you're doing this. I would not put any non-essential, anything that you need, I would not put it in this market at this time. This is for basically cash that you've been sitting on your side, sitting on basically collecting dust, and you're putting it to work. The market was high. You knew it was going to crash, and I think it's time to start buying in drabs. I wouldn't. I'm not going to buy any things and wait for. I'm not buying Boeing. I wouldn't recommend any of them unless you do the research. I mean, them things, when you're talking those, you have to look at the balance sheet. You have to do a lot of work with those. I mean, to understand fully what they are, you have to keep up a date. Is there going to be a bailout? What kind of thing? So, I mean, especially a lot of them companies are getting affected, like the cruise lines. You have to look at the balance sheet, look what the CEO's trying to get out of there, because they will get hammered, and some of them will go out of business. So you're basically going, hey, will I make money on this, or will I get killed? And Dave & Buster's is another example. You have to know the business, know what they're doing. I mean, I think it's a great buy if you know what you're doing, but if you don't, I wouldn't really recommend those until you do your full research, and I'm talking a lot more research than you normally would for a stock. I believe, it's more like you buy it and then really study and really pay attention to it, because I believe there's big upsides to those. I think some of them are actually priced in like they're going out of business next month, and if they don't, I think their stocks could even double where they're at now. I mean, especially Delta, stuff like that. The cruise lines, Dave and Buster's are the perfect example. I mean, they're priced in like they're going to go up bankrupt. I mean, this thing went from like $70 a share all the way down to $4 a share. So essentially, it's priced in like it's going bankrupt tomorrow. Now, if you look in there and understand the business, see what the CEO's doing, see how much cash is on there. I can't recommend it because I haven't done really a whole lot of research. I've just been looking into it and reading a lot, seeing what's out there. But I'm just going to keep adding to the ones. I actually made a video of 10 stocks for the next bull market. I made it. I leave it link down in the description. I put it out there so you guys can, the ones I looked at, I checked all the balance sheets, all the valuations. They're getting cheaper out there. I think it's a pretty good time to get into it, but I would not put any money that you need. Make sure, you keep money on the side just in case you might lose your job. Make sure you keep money on the side so your car breaks down. You don't want to be, let's say we go in a recession. You don't want to be the person that, hey, your car breaks down and you got flat tire, you can't get to work. They might lay you off because they can easily find somebody to replace you. And this is just the way it's going to be for the next, I think, almost a year now. I think we're in this for a year. I don't think it's going to snap back rally. I don't like that idea. There's no such thing as a snap back rally. Once it goes down 30%, that means people are out. They are out. They're done. They know it's over. And I've never, in the history of the stock market, never seen a snapback rally where it hit an all-time high after going 30% down. I mean, that's a hell of a down. By the end of the year, I think that's crazy. When people are saying that, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think consumer confidence will slip, and people will still be nervous, even when they get back at the job, like, man, I'm going to lose my job. Or maybe they get hit real hard and get behind on the bills. I mean, the government's only giving them $1,000. I mean, hell, $1,000 ain't gonna go far if you have 3 kids. I mean, you might be behind on bills, and you're gonna push back your rent, go push back the bills. I mean, they're not canceling the bills; they're just pushing it back. I mean, that's going to just create slow opportunity growth, and this is going to be for a while. We're in, I believe, maybe not in a recession yet. I'm not going to call it. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to last, per se, with the coronavirus. I think once we neutralize that, we can see it. But I believe, and I wouldn't be investing in any of the biotech companies. I think they will go bust. I wouldn't be investing in a lot of these companies that, unless you're trading stocks, but as an investment looking 3 years out, I would not invest in these companies. They're coming up with these cures. I think that's already priced in. I don't think they're going to come up with anything anytime soon. And even if they do, the implication for some of them drug stocks to come up with these things, once they release the vaccine, the stock could go way up, but then they could cure it, and guess what? They can't make more money. So essentially, normally their stocks get hammered. I mean, the company that came up with the Ebola, they start curing these people, then there's less cases, so they can't sell as much drugs. I mean, so I really don't believe in long term with them. I think people are just getting kind of crazy with those, looking for a cure. Oh, I'm going to get this company. It's going to max out its profits, and this thing's going to go flying. I mean, that is not the case, and that's not how I invest. I don't look at one thing trying to time some medical thing. I mean, golly knows with that. I mean, the medical is very, very complicated industry. I mean, it's not easy to understand what's going on, and I'm not a medical profession or anything. I just kind of, and I would not be buying any of them biotech companies that you don't know what you're doing. I think they're very risky, and you're basically just gambling, in my opinion. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gambling. You might as well just go to a lottery machine if you want to try to get rich that way. I believe it's the same thing. If you're not investing, you're gambling, and that's basically gambling if you don't know what you're doing. And that's really the difference between an investor and a gambler, But anyway, back on it. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment what you're looking at. I can leave that video. That's all I really have to say about this. We have our game plan now. We know what we're doing. Hopefully, we can make some good calls out there and buy some things. I believe holding, don't sell. I think it's too late to sell. If you were going to sell it, that would have been, 2019, where we would get out and take profits along the way. I mean, there's no point to sell now. I wouldn't be selling, even if it goes down to 10%. I mean, that's maybe, but what stocks are going to go down, I don't know. I believe they will go up over the long term, but we're in this for a while. I don't think we're going to get, don't be taking out special loans to go on this snapback rally and an opportunity of a lifetime. Keep some powder dry and to make some good calls and sit back and think. Don't make rash decisions on this, and we get through this. It'll be a while, but I believe it'll eventually pass. The coronavirus will eventually subside. I don't know where it's going to be. I think it's going to hit millions, though, and I think it's going to get a lot worse during April and May. But I think their silver lining is fatality rates are not as bad as they thought. It's about 1% or so in the United States. As long as we don't have a big run up on the hospitals, I think they do well. I'm not a medical professional. I don't really know a whole lot about that. But anyway, all I gotta say is be careful out there, guys. I mean, it's pretty rough. We all kind of saw this happening. I mean, I kind of called it. I mean, I was one of my bold predictions that we're gonna have a 10% drop. Fed was gonna cut rates, and we're going into a recession. That's actually one of my picks for my bold predictions for 2020. I mean, I could leave that link down there, and you can listen to that. I mean, it was kind of just me, having some bold predictions, but it came true a little bit. And that's all I gotta say. And thank you for watching. If you made it this far, give it a like, give it a comment of what you're buying. I always like to hear what you guys are buying. And thank you for watching. Thank you.